Looks like our friend is in quite the situation. But what is HIV anyways? HIV is comprised of three components: the viral envelope, the HIV matrix protein, and the viral core. HIV is a member of the retrovirus family called the lentiviruses. Retroviruses have a genome comprised of two single chains of RNA, and as any other virus, HIV requires a host for replication. The actual replication process is completed through the use of the enzyme reverse transcriptase, which allows the RNA to be transcribed into DNA, and through this process, the virus can hijack the host cell and use its machinery for its own well-being. Two main strains of HIV are 1 and 2. 1 can lead to the more severe acquired immune deficiency syndrome, or AIDS, while 2 creates an AIDS-like illness, although this strain is much less common in North America. Human immunodeficiency virus, or HIV, is a disease that could in fact date back to the 1800s, when bushmeat such as chimpanzees was hunted for, and the simian immunodeficiency virus, or SIV, was likely crossed over with humans and through generations was mutated into what is now known as HIV.
But I didn't have any bushmeat.
Well, that's not the only way someone can get HIV. HIV is a blood-borne pathogen that can be transmitted through bodily fluids, so this means that sexual contact and needles can also lead to possible infection along with childbirth and breastfeeding.
Oh, that makes sense then. What's really going on inside me?
Once HIV has successfully taken over the cell's replication machinery, it begins to target the individual's immune system, specifically the helper T cells, which assist the immune system in fighting off infection. HIV severely reduces the number of helper T cells found in the body, making the individual susceptible to other infections and compromising their immune system.
So, what does that mean for me?
Well, Fernando, let's think about the symptoms you're experiencing and try to piece this together. The first stage of HIV is called the acute primary infection, and you might experience muscle aches, fever, headache, and stomach pain. But your immune system is still functioning, albeit with some damage at hand. In fact, at this point, your body is producing HIV antibodies. The second stage of HIV is known as the clinical latent infection. Here we see patients living asymptomatically, as there are no additional symptoms being seen, although beneath the surface, HIV is being extremely active in the lymph system. The third stage is a symptomatic HIV infection. And here we start seeing some of the more extreme symptoms, including rapid weight loss, memory loss, recurring fever, and diarrhea that can last several days. At this point, the immune system is severely compromised, and an infection that would normally be harmless to a healthy individual can be life-threatening. And the final stage of HIV involves transition into AIDS, where the T cell count is severely diminished and conditions such as tuberculosis, cancer, or pneumonia can become more apparent.
This all sounds awful. What can we possibly do?
Well, there are of course some steps we can take for prevention, such as practicing safe sex, and for those whom use needles, it would be best not to share them, and for any other items that might have bodily fluids, such as razors, it would be a good idea to keep them to yourself as well. But for a cure, as it stands, the best route of action is to run several tests to determine your T cell count, the viral load in your blood, and what kind of drug resistance might be observed. There is no miracle cure that can stop HIV in its tracks, but there are a series of antiretroviral drugs that can be used to help those infected live to normal life expectancies. Some of these include non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors, nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors, protease inhibitors, entry or fusion inhibitors, and integrase inhibitors.
Yay! So that means I can live.
Yeah!
Created using Powtoon.